All right, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Rogan. A lot of you may not care about Joe Rogan. A lot of you are probably gonna be like, "What are you talking about Joe Rogan's salvation for? Like, why does this matter?" But is a ton of people that follow Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's got one of the largest podcasts in the world. So that means he's got a lot of influence, and he's been having these conversations with men of God over the last couple of years. Now, he's not only been talking to men of God; he's also been talking to people on the other side of the spectrum as well, but he's gone from not entertaining Jesus Christ at all to really saying that we need Jesus. Let me play you this clip real quick, guys.
If you're religious, I'm not saying there's no God. I'm saying people are full of shit and that story sucks. I don't know who wrote this, but it's a perfect definition. A cult is bullshit. It's created by one person. That person knows it's bullshit. In a religion, that dude's dead.
What about the 500 people that saw him in the town over the next 6 weeks?
Did you talk to those people?
No.
So the likelihood of someone coming back to life is very low. You think there's a real Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
What makes you convinced?
My faith.
I mean, that's a good answer. Oftentimes wonder what's going on and why me. Yeah.
You must, man.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Almighty's calling you. What I mean is I wonder if you are one of the Almighty's elect.
Oh boy. It's funny because people would be incredulous about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, but yet they're convinced that the entire universe was smaller than the head of a pin, and for no reason that anybody's adequately explained to me. It makes sense.
Yeah. No.
Instantaneously became everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't buy that.
I'm sticking with Jesus on
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus makes more sense. You know, we're inherently good and your ethics are based on your own moral compass and we all have one. And that's not necessarily true. We need Jesus. I think for real.
And so for a man like Joe Rogan to go from saying that religion and Jesus is, not real, and that it's people that are in a cult and that it's BS, then to saying that we need Jesus, this just goes to show the power of spreading the gospel, right? A lot of people don't put any stock in being saved. So now that I'm saved, I'm going to go out and tell others that they should be saved and spread the gospel of Jesus. We kind of tend to not focus on that. Although Matthew 28:19 tells us to go out into the world and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. And we don't do that. We choose to sit in our little bubble, right? We choose to sit in our, I go to church, but that's it. And if we're not going out telling the people that don't know Jesus about Jesus, or if we're not having hard conversations with people that are staunch atheists or Satanists or Luciferians, if we're not having these conversations with them, how are they going to hear the truth about Jesus? How are their hearts going to be softened? Because Joe's been having these conversations for years, and we see that finally it's starting to get through. Listen to this clip right here, guys.
Go to one place, where would you go? If you had one shot, you can go back in time once and survive and come back to the future. Where would you go?
Jesus.
Jesus. What if there was nobody there?
Even better. I get them all to myself. Just me and Jesus.
No, I mean, what if Jesus wasn't there? What if you go back and you're like, I just want to go see Jesus? And you're like, okay. What time?
He's there.
You think there's a real Jesus?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Absolutely. 1,000%.
What makes you convinced?
My faith.
So you think the real truth was that he actually was the Son of God?
Yes.
It'd be amazing if it was true.
It is amazing.
I believe you. I believe that you believe that.
Would you like to be introduced to Jesus?
Listen, I think the concept of Jesus is absolutely amazing. And if Jesus came here and wanted to visit me, I would be psyched.
Would you like to know Jesus?
In what way?
I can put my pastor on your show.
I'm good.
Jesus is everywhere. He's in this room. He's in the world. He's in the universe. By the aliens that you want so desperately to be real or have the concept of them being real, that's Jesus. That is Jesus. Jesus and God are everywhere. They're everywhere. Yeah. Every time you look at a flower that blooms or you look at one of your children, you're like, that's Jesus. That is Jesus. That is God.
Now, obviously, I'm going to push back on the alien part of things because I don't think that the way it came out is what he meant it as, because all things that were created through Jesus. And while we don't have aliens, we have demons, which the demons were the original angels that left heaven. They got kicked out of heaven with Satan. Those are demons. Those were too created by Jesus. Everything, your children, you, this earth. My point is that Joe Rogan's been having these conversations with people that are Christians, and it's making an impact on his life.
The most, I think, accurate way or picture to describe this. Remember, I told you I woke up the next day and like my desires had changed.
Yes.
The most accurate way I've heard this described is if you had two plates of food. You had a plate of the finest food, and then you had a bucket of garbage. You turn a pig loose into the room. The pig is going to go and stick his head in that bucket of garbage and eat that garbage before he eats the food off of that fine plate, because he likes the smell of garbage. He's attracted to the taste and the smell of that. We have pigs at the house. Like, that's what he would do. He would go eat the garbage before he ate the good stuff. And so that pig, he's eating that garbage, and there's this good stuff right here next to him. And he's not even ashamed that he's eating that garbage because he's a pig. If you had the power to snap your fingers and to turn that pig into a man, that man would then lift his head up out of that garbage, and he would look around him, and he would be ashamed that he had been eating that garbage. And he would depart from that garbage and go to the finer food. Right?
Yeah.
That's what he would do. That's the transition that I tried to describe to you earlier, how it's changed overnight. It was like, I no longer desired garbage more than I desired the fine things that the Lord has offered to me. My desires changed, right?
I see what you're saying.
But we still go back. Like that, there's a remnant of that pig in us. And every now and then we want to go back and eat that garbage, but we're ashamed. We don't want anybody to see us, and we're ashamed, and it upsets our stomach, and we respond to it differently. And that's kind of the change, and tying this all back into, well, why aren't Christians perfect? They say they preach all this stuff.
So I love how I don't know if you guys were able to see the words that were popping up on the screen, but I love how he was saying that, a pig is going to go and eat the slop. That's envy, that's greed, that's jealousy, that's lust, that's perversion. But if he could snap his fingers and this pig would turn into a man, then that's the repentance. Now he knows the love and saving grace of Jesus Christ, right? And so these messages might be used in an analogy, but Joe understands what's being taught to him by these men of God. And so I think that's why we see this transition, albeit a slow transition. I do think that before Joe leaves this earth, I do think that he will give his life to Christ. And you say again, Marcus, why does this matter for the kingdom of heaven? Well, because when someone has such a large influence over a population, their salvation can lead others to salvation, and people like to grow with one another, right? So say you've been watching my channel for 5 years, which this channel hasn't been around for 5 years, but over the next 5 years, the trajectory that I'm on, the sanctification process that I walk, and you see me grow, you're going to be invested in my life and my transition. And some of you, right? Not that I'm an idol or anything like that, but some of you will be encouraged by the way that I live my life, just as I'm encouraged by men of God in my life and the way that they live their lives as well, right? It's just what happens. We find people that we admire and we kind of mimic them. Well, Paul says to imitate me as I imitate Christ. So what Joe's doing over this time is he's imitating the men that he sees in his life that have a relationship with Jesus, and it's sanctifying him. It's knocking off disbelief. It's knocking off doubt. It's increasing faith. And we've seen this transition over time where he went from blaspheming God to now he's considering following Jesus. And who's to say how long it'll take, right? But as long as it happens, that's all that matters. And then prayerfully, he can use his platform with millions of followers and start preaching the gospel and trying to lead them to Jesus. I've seen it before. I watch a guy named Nick Bear that does fitness content, and he says that he's been a Christian this whole time. And here I am 5 years later, and now he's openly professing Jesus Christ, trying to lead people to Jesus. And his platform's got like 2 million followers. So don't say it can't happen with Joe, guys. And that's my hope. So I ask that we all pray for Joe Rogan, for a man with influence like that to truly come to the Lord and give his life to Jesus. That's going to do it for this one, though. What are you guys' thoughts about this? Let me know down in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, God bless.